Mitchell's been playing well as of late. Metu's been stepping it up, grabbing boards, scoring points. And then, your mixture. Lyles hasn't really been playing. He was sick as well. And it seems like he's coming off the bench for KZ. And Terrence Davis, he's a microwave when he's in the game. Sometimes he'll just go off. So that bench has been huge for the Kings this year. And something just like defense, they lacked over this last 16 years. They never had any depth. They never had a bench. So it's nice that you can rely on guys coming off the bench. And, they're not the starters, but they definitely keep you in the ball game well enough. So that's something that's been really nice to see this year.
It's interesting because kind of thinking about the bench here. Now Mike Brown, it's become a little tougher because Mike Brown has talked about how he historically has liked smaller rotations. And now it's like, well, okay, you got Monk and Mitchell and Metu. Those guys are locks to play. And then you basically have Lyles, Davis, and Okpala. Like 2 of those 3 guys can also play. And Okpala has now made it very difficult. Credit to him. Since the game in Boston, when he started to get a little bit of playtime there, he just seems like an NBA player, which was one of the critiques of him when he was getting those starter minutes in the rotation. It just felt like he didn't have an idea of where to be. His idea of spacing was off. It just kind of seemed like it's like this guy's been in the league for 3 years already. Like what? Mm-hmm. It just seemed like what the heck? But with time, practice time, and whatnot, he's put it together, and he stayed ready, which that is a testament also to the bench. I mean, like Monk and Mitchell have kind of always had their roles, but Lyles, Okpala had the minutes over Lyles at the beginning of the season. Lyles had to stay ready. Metu was not in the rotation at all to start the season. He had to stay ready. And now it's the same thing with Okpala, kind of like contrasted here, or I mean, kind of off of Lyles in reverse fashion. But now it's just kind of become more difficult in the best way possible for Brown to distribute minutes. And he has far more leeway to go with matchups, hot hands, whatever the deal is. And so you want a more defensive minded, you need a guy maybe to go up and disrupt somebody like he did against DeMar DeRozan. Okpala's the guy. Maybe you need a little bit of, rebounding depth, and you want a little bit of 3-point shooting or something. You got Trey Lyles. If you need a spark, kind of almost a Monk Jr. is Terrence Davis. Because Terrence Davis does a lot of the same things Monk will do. He's aggressive. He'll get to the rim. He doesn't maybe distribute as well as Monk, but you'll see him flip alley-oops to Metu just like Monk does.
Yeah.
And also, he's made a lot of difference on the defensive end. He looks really great. I mean, like, there's had to be some moments. I know, like, in the first game of the season, he got called out for making a mistake, or maybe it was in the preseason. And then, obviously, that moment we alluded to earlier against Phoenix. But he always bounces back and makes the adjustments, and he's coming out and he's playing good defense, and he's always playing hard. Contract year. But he's also an undrafted player, and he's probably always going to have that mentality.
Yeah, very true.
I don't know. This bench has just been terrific, and I think it's like it just seems like it's one guy after the other. It's like Monk. We find out Monk's really good, and it's like Lyle steps up, and Davion Mitchell kind of really like embraces his role and figures it out. And then Terrence Davis goes off for God knows how many against the Nets and other similar bursts of scoring. And now you got, and Metu steps up to be the backup 5. And now you have Okpala making it difficult. And shoot, man, that's exactly what you want to see. And we were talking about it at the beginning of the season. It's like this team's got depth, and they're finally showing it. I think with the Rashawn Holmes thing and everything, it just seemed like, what happened there? That seemed like a strength of this team, and then it didn't. And now it's come back with even more force.
I know. It's so weird that Rashawn Holmes is on the bench. Just imagine if that dude was actually playing
imagine if he played like Metu. Imagine if he played like Metu.
Yeah.
He'd be a stronger Metu.
Yeah. That bench would be so good. I'm so upset with Holmes.
Holmes is arguably Holmes right now. I mean, Holmes is shooting like 50% from 3 this year. Like
Just
two
stretching the
attempts.
floor. Where's Alex Len? He was shooting the ball really well in what Euro basket? What was it called? Was that what it was
Yeah,
called?
yeah, Eurobasket. He shot like 38% or something.
Yeah, he was
It was
money.
great.
But I get it. You can't. Len, it's
I keep thinking about Len. I'm just like, I think they're just gonna let him play out his contract, and I just don't see how he gets on the floor unless like we talk about like it's very specific matchups, like where you need him to battle with somebody for a second.
yeah,
But
like Nurkic or another big white guy. Really,
the, yeah,
Nurkic or
yeah,
Jokic really come to mind, or Valanciunas, right?
yeah, and it's like I keep kind of pushing off the idea of like bringing up Keita, and it's like man, if like you have an injury or two in at the center position where guys are sidelined for a bit and like Len needs to step into rotational minutes, I would be in favor of bringing up Keita and giving him rotational minutes over Len. Honestly,
Yeah, I would
I maybe
too.
start with Len, but have Keita there.
That's fair.
Because I just feel like Len is just so big and he's trimmed down a little bit this year, but he's just far too slow for the modern NBA.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I mean that's what's keeping him off the floor is that speed. It's just it's I like Len too. You know, he's like that enforcer kind of guy, but just
yeah, I
yeah,
mean, he in garbage time, I think against the Pacers, he had like 3 offensive rebounds.
yeah,
He's a giant.
yeah, that's it. He's just a giant.
Yeah,
You
it'd
can't
be
hang
interesting. It'd be interesting when they play Denver for the first time. They got that kind of like 2-game series against Denver at the end of the month, so it'd be
really
interesting. Yeah,
back to
it'd be
back
interesting.
games.
Yeah, in Sacramento, it'll be fun.
Oh, well, that's good.
Um,
At least they're in sack.
yeah, um, but not to just as a whole though. Looking at what there's like 6 guys: Davion Mitchell, Malik Monk, Terrence Davis, Okpala, Lyles, and Metu. You have 6 viable guys off the bench. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I know. And some of those guys, I'm like Metu and Akpala. It's like I didn't think those guys were really going to do much. Even Davis, I was kind of questionable about. I like Davis, but I'm like, let's see if he can do it off the bench in inconsistent minutes, and he has, and that's just been such a big plus as well. If you know, that bench is supposed to be Mitchell, Monk, and Holmes. Like those are supposed to be the leaders, right? And maybe a little bit of Trey Lyles. And Lyles
Yeah,
has played well this year for sure. And I hope, I know Akpal has kind of taken his minutes deservingly the last couple of games, but I want to see Lyles see the floor a little more. Um, we're big Trey Lyles fans, and I think he just does everything right. But
yeah,
no, it's definitely been nice to see everyone step up and but yeah, I mean, the bench is one of our biggest assets
yeah,
for this unit, so or this team. But
yeah.
they've been,
Two final
yeah,
notes on the bench. Just because I feel like we were almost making the argument that Chimezi Metu had no place on this team. Like both before the season started, during the preseason, and at the very beginning of the season, the first couple of games. We were essentially under the impression that, hey, what is this guy doing here? Everybody else kind of made sense. And boy, it's just like, I feel very bad about that. He hasn't been perfect, but in terms of like finding a way to make an impact, getting in there, making that impact, and doing it pretty consistently, it works. And his energy just absolutely fits. It's perfect for the bench unit. And like Mike Brown said, Chimezi Metu being a completely different player than DeMarcus Cousins can be a good thing because now defenses have to prepare for 2 different centers, two completely different styles of play, and you can see it out there when Metu's out there. There's always these energy dunks. There's like 2 or 3 a game.
yeah, all alley oop after alley oop. I feel like every
Yeah,
game he's at least throwing one down from, like you said, Monk or Davis. And
yeah,
I mean, that's what I said. That's one thing I'll give myself credit to. I do owe Chimezi Metu an apology because I was one of his biggest haters. But I did give him credit that that dude has some energy with his dunking, and
yeah,
it's always fun to watch. And you always know when it's going to happen. It's always on a fast break, and Monk has it. It's like, all right, let's see it. And talking about a good dunker, just because I'm on the topic, how about Malik Monk? That dude is just
Oh my god. Yeah, he
he's
double clutched against the Bulls.
yeah, duh, man, he's fun. He's such a fun player. I'm so glad we got him.
Yeah,
Like
it's
one of our better signings in a long time. What a
yeah.
thank
They
Fox
need
for
they need to
that.
have like a I don't know. No, I don't know. Monk is probably you're going to see a lot more zeros out there that are not Halliburton. You're going to start to see Monks fill it out.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Very true. He's definitely becoming a fan favorite quick. A great spark off the bench. That he does so much for the team, and like we said, I think he's the third best player right now on this team.
Yeah.
Hats off to him.